All right, YouTube, the 9/11 bill should not be controversial. It should be fairly cut and dry, which is we need to hold foreign governments to account for what they've done to this country. It's obvious that the government at large is not willing to do that because they have too many partnerships with them to extract more wealth. Therefore, the 9/11 bill is going forth. It passed the Senate unanimously. I'm not surprised that it did. This is no longer a partisan issue. People in this country are tired of being abused by foreign powers and having those foreign powers, people like Bush and Obama, cover for them because they want to get rich off the backs of human misery. The 9/11 bill doesn't need to be controversial. It's just a way to open up other countries to allow the judicial system here to require them, if they're going to stay in our good graces, to compensate people when they have performed a criminal act, which is what the Saudi government has done. The Saudi Arabian government was directly and utterly responsible for funding and training the terrorists that carried out the 9/11 attacks. They were in league with, I think we can guess the country in the same region, people of a different faith, let's face it. I'm sure most of you know what I'm talking about. The nation that shall not be named, because then 1,000 shit posters will arrive to whine about you being a bigot or something like that. But it's fairly fucking straightforward. Just ask Ben Garrison who's responsible and you'll probably get about the same response. Anyway, the 9/11 bill, though, it's gone past the point at which it's a partisan issue. Whoever, I'm not sure exactly who introduced it. I can't remember. But they must have been geniuses because they knew that nobody in the Senate's going to fucking vote against this, because then it's going to make it look like they're weak in protecting like those whose lives have been fucked up by terrorism abroad. And Obama's already threatening to veto it because he's good friends with the Saudi Arabians. You know, he's perfectly willing to bend over, bow, and shove his own face into his own ass at behest of the Saudi royal family, because I guess they guard Mecca, and so fucking he has some allegiance to them more than he does to the people of the United States. You saw Bush doing the same thing. He was quick to clarify, oh, I just hate these fucking Iraqis and Afghanistanians over here. I don't have a problem with them Saudis, even though he fucking knew that the Saudis were responsible all along. Release the 28 pages of the 9/11 report, you'll get to read all about it yourself. Of course they were connected to it. You've got increasingly people in Congress that have read the 28 pages in their unredacted form. They come out and they say, yeah, the Saudi Arabians were involved, but the government doesn't want you to know about that fact. It's not a conspiracy. If we've got people that are actually in office, they've been elected, they do have clearance to read this shit. They're in the Senate, they're in the House, and they're telling us the Saudis are involved. Well, no shit. Okay, I guess the Saudis did it. And that's true. Most of the hijackers were Saudi Arabians. They weren't from Iraq or Afghanistan. They were Saudis. I think a couple of them were Tunisian and Egyptian. I think there was like a Lebanese person among them. Most of them were Saudi Arabians and nowhere else. Where do you think they got all that training from to actually execute such an attack? You think they got it from, idiot Osama out in the cave somewhere? Where do you think he got a lot of his money from? He got it from the Saudi Arabians trying to push their Sunni caliphate. So yeah, we should be holding them accountable. Now I think the time, properly speaking, to hold them accountable would have been shortly after 9/11 by delivering an atomic warhead to Riyadh. Unfortunately, we didn't do that because Bush wanted to finish what Daddy Bush started in Iraq, a country completely unconnected with it, and go after Osama, which is like a wild goose chase because it took us fucking years, and let's face it, he was already dead anyway. Obama claims I killed Osama. No, you didn't. You provided not one shred of evidence that you killed Osama. Why should I take your word for it? You're the same person who helped Hillary try to cover on Benghazi to try to save her own neck by saying a YouTube video caused a spontaneous uprising that you always knew was false. I can see through that bullshit. Increasingly, I hope others can. There's a time and a place to call some fucked up shit a conspiracy theory when it makes no sense whatsoever. But when there's good reason to believe something fucking fishy is going on, that's not a conspiracy theory anymore. That goes outside of the realm of conspiracy theories into the realm of, is this the next Gulf of Tonkin, where our government has simply covered up something that was inconvenient to what it wanted to do. I think that's what we're seeing here. The 28 pages, a lot of people, like Obama, don't want them released. And then he comes out and says, well, I'll release that. I'll look through it and see what we can release. Bullshit. You're going to release like a few heavily redacted portions of it. and that still won't name names because you're trying to cover for your oil buddies over there that have promised when you leave office, you're going to get millions in kickbacks from them, just like the fucking Clintons and just like the fucking Bush family. You know, there were bin Ladens in Washington, D.C. on the day of 9/11 meeting with Herbert Walker Bush. How much more fishy can it possibly get? You don't think that this is a little bit odd? I do. I think it is odd, and I'm glad that the legislature has finally grown a pair and apparently decided to do something about it, belated as it may be. They need to release the 28 pages. We do need to hold the Saudis accountable. We have a Republican presidential contender who apparently has been ranting about the Saudis taking advantage of us since the 1980s. I take heart in that. Now, I don't support every part of his platform, but on that, I can never fault Trump for what he says about the Saudis especially, because they're not our friends. They're our frenemies at best. They are essentially just in it for themselves, and they're willing to be on good terms with us if it suits them to be. But they would just as soon side with the Russians or anybody else under the sun if it suited them as well at the same time. If they think they can stab us in the back and make $1 billion doing it, they're going to stab us in the back. The only way we can keep them under control is to throw more money to them to try to outpay all of our competitors. Well, that's a pretty raggedy-ass way of doing things. Yeah, we need to release the 28 pages. The 9/11 bill, Obama will probably veto it. Hopefully his veto gets overridden because, I mean, my goodness, what the fuck does Obama have to hide? He says, oh, it'll open up Americans to lawsuits from foreign nations. No, it won't. This has to do with U.S. law and our court system. It doesn't. If they want to come and use U.S. courts to try to sue U.S. citizens, let them go ahead. They can already fucking do that if they want to. They're not going to be able to set up some rinky-dink Sharia court, say, oh, the United States owes us $1 trillion, pay up, because otherwise you're violating our laws. That's not what this bill pertains to. This bill is the U.S. going after other. We are the hegemon. We have every right to seek damages from other countries if they have sponsored terrorism. If the United States government were to prop up some militia that went overseas and conducted a bunch of terrorist attacks, you can be damn sure people like Obama would bend over backwards to pay reparations to the other country to save face. So why the fuck shouldn't the Saudi Arabians do the fucking same? Why should they be protected from it? Because they're the most high, mighty, holy mucky mucks of Mecca, as Obama would probably term it? I don't give a fuck about their religion. I don't care if they control Mecca or not. That's like saying if the Pope came over with a bunch of priests from Rome, and some of those priests were like raping and killing and torturing little boys, that we wouldn't hold them accountable for that. And we'd say, oh, yeah, but they're from the Vatican, and they have an important religious monument, so fuck it. We're just going to bend over and cover for their crimes. I don't fucking think so. This is the United States. We're not supposed to be respecters of some retarded-ass theocracy or lame-ass monarchy somewhere around the world. I don't give a crap if somebody calls themselves a king or an emperor or a rabbi or something like that. It just doesn't matter to me. Those titles are absolutely and utterly meaningless. Those people aren't even Americans. They're in some other foreign country trying to sow discord over here to more easily manipulate us, let's face it. So yeah, I think they need to vote it forward. They need to release the 28 pages unredacted, in full. Obama should not be the one handling this because he's not trustworthy. That's about all. Peace out.